Good evening. This is the regular meeting of the Board of Commissioners, St. Charles Parish Housing Authority, Tuesday, March 25th, 2025. Time is now 6:02 p.m. I call the meeting to order. Will you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, everybody. The first agenda item this evening is review and approval of the agenda. Mr. Woods.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the agenda as presented.
All right, Mr. Woods has moved to approve the agenda as presented. Do we have a second? Mr. Bailey seconded. Please cast your vote.
Commissioner Jones.
All right, that passes. Next agenda item is review and approval of the board meeting minutes from February 25th, 2025. Any board discussion or motion from the board?
So let's get there.
All right, Mr. Woods.
Mr. Chair, we have reviewed the minutes, and I make a motion that we approve the minutes as presented.
And Mr. Woods has moved to approve the minutes as written. Do we have a second? Mr. Bailey is seconded. Please cast your votes.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, a little slow, but I'm working.
All right, that motion passes. At this time, we open for public comment regarding agenda items. Time is now 6:05. We are open for public comment. If you'd like to speak, you may come forward. Seeing none, public comment is closed. Next agenda item, review and acceptance of financial reporting. That's on page 9 of your packet. Any board discussion? Yeah. Mr. Jackson.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Thank you all for being here today. We just wanted to go over quickly the review and acceptance of the financial reporting from page 9 to 161 in your board packets. We have included the December 2024 and January 2025 financial reports from our fee accountant 76 Strategies. This report includes the HCB Interfund proration advisement as well as in-depth breakdown of both the HCB and low rent programs, including the general ledger and budget to actual through the end of 2025. We are working with 76 Strategies and our accountant, Arthur Allen, to begin the process of voiding checks prior to July 2024. This list should be reduced in the April 2025 financial report. I did also send to you on last night the February 2025 financial report, but because we received it yesterday for our April meeting, you'll have both the February and March 2025 financial reports in your packet, which means that for our April meeting, we will be current on financial reporting going forward. Also, Paul Rogers with 76 Strategies will be here at the next meeting to make a presentation to the board and accept questions about the financial reports as they're prepared, the requested MENAR score projection, and any other financial related matters regarding the agency. from page 163 to 176, we did include our February 2025 bank statements, but just as a note, as we'll be current with financial reporting moving forward, the standalone bank statement section will no longer be included, as the bank statement is a part of the regular monthly reporting. And lastly, I did include a ELOX printout as of March 18th. And just as an FYI, we have completely closed out and drawn down the 23 operating fund, and we'll complete the 24 operating fund drawdown this upcoming month. We have, just as an FYI, had issues in the ELOX system with the 19, 21, and 22 capital fund grants. For some reason, the ELOX system will not let us draw down the remaining balances. We did request assistance from the field office, but they have not been able to indicate why this is occurring yet. However, we will work to fully draw down the 23 capital fund grant in the coming month. Just as an FYI, again, in the 19 grant, we have $31,000 as an available balance. In the 21 grant, we have $23,000, and in the 22 grant, we have $34,000. But again, we're working with the field office to determine what the issue is and why we're not able to pull down the 100% of those capital fund grant years. And that concludes my financial reporting.
All right, thank you, Mr. Jackson. Any additional comments from the board? Mr. Woods.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Good evening. Thank you. Mr. Jackson, you said there was an ELOX report in this packet. What page is that on?
That is on page 178.
170?
178.
178.
Mhm.
And if you would, could you explain to us, when you say in ELOX, what is ELOX and how does that relate to us?
So the ELOX system is our vouchering and financial draw system that HUD establishes for quasi or direct federal agencies to submit requests for funding reimbursement and to receive those requests as well. So with HUD has a network called the Secure System. Every person that is affiliated in a financial capacity with a housing authority has access to that system. You have to go through a number of processes and certifications to get in it. And once you're in, that there are certain sections that are available to certain levels of security and clearance that you've been given prior to or through the registration process. And one of those systems is ELOX. So in ELOX, again, we would be certifying individuals that are able to access the system and also able to review all of our funding awards, whether they be operating fund or capital fund grants. And the balances and you know, that the drawdowns as they occur, they're on time stamped, so we would know you know, when a drawdown occurred, and also the process in which if the request for funding requires field office approval or national HUD approval, that you know, they either accept it or reject it. And we also do the capital fund reporting, the monthly capital fund reporting in that system as well.
Okay, all right.
And I apologize. I wish I remembered what ELOX stood for.
Yeah, I got you. We did.
A lot of
Actually, trying to get some
acronyms.
clarity for our new member here. Also, I want to say, I have some more questions. I'm glad you did mention about outstanding checks. That was one of them. I remember even Commissioner Bailey was asking that question a couple of months ago. I do have more questions, but since you're saying that our fee account is going to be here next month, I'll save those for him, just to put it out there as a heads up.
Mhm.
Hopefully, what I'm hoping he brings to us or present to us, like all this information that he gives us. How do we use it? How do we track maintenance costs? Where is all of that stuff like that located in reports like this? And I also want to note that being very grateful that officially, as of next month, we're going to be current with our finances. That's a big deal. I really want to acknowledge that to this board and even the fee accountant. We're so glad for that. Again, more questions, but I'll just wait till the fee accountant is here to ask some specifics. I'll say.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Woods. And I did want to clarify that I do know personally that you're aware of what the ELOC system was, and that was a caveat just to allow members of the public to have a little more understanding of how our
Yes, sir.
system works. Thank you.
That's my motivation sometimes.
All right. Let's see, Mr. Bailey.
Ron, I think just to go on what you were saying with the fee account, we can, and when I look at the reports, I question the same thing. So I think that when the fee accountant is here, we can tell him how we want the reports to look, so we can have an overall summary of specific items. And no maintenance is a big one.
Yes, sir.
So at the top, we can have a summary of what happened, from this month to last month, where we are on the budget for maintenance.
Yeah.
So we can put that up. We could think about like how we want our summary to come, so that way the information that we're looking for specifically is first on that page, that very first page, and then we can go down into the details.
Yeah, okay.
I think
That's my very thought pattern. So you're hitting the nail right on the head of the presentations that we're going to be looking for.
Yeah. Then we're going to dig through. If we dig through the nitty gritty, if it's something stands out.
Yeah, gotcha.
The summary is right there.
Absolutely. Good thought. Thank you, sir.
Back to the capital funds. I see we started drawing down on, it was 24, right?
So
So we started drawing down on 24.
Mhm.
So
we haven't drawn 24
we
yet.
haven't drawn on anything on 24.
No, because we're trying to draw down the previous grants first.
Right.
Yeah.
So we have to. But that was a question of mine. Well, 23. We started drawing out on 23.
Mhm.
So that was a question of mine, was how are we able to draw down on 23 without closing 19 to 22 out?
So you don't have to close them out. That's just by practice trying to draw down what we have to obligate and expend first. It's not a requirement, but
Okay.
because we could draw down 24 when we have an eligible expense tied to it, but
But they're going to allow us to go back and capture
um,
19 to 22.
that's what we're fighting for right now because of the system. For whatever reason, and I'm I'm guessing, this is just a guess, this is not anything that I've seen, there in the reporting, what you obligate and what you has to match what you expend.
Right.
And I think there may have been an issue in what was obligated prior to the deadline of the obligation. But in some of these, and I don't have that in front of me, but I mean, some of these grants ended a couple of years ago. So we can't obligate, but we can expend if there was an obligated activity to expend to it. So I think that is the issue we're running into. But it, again, shouldn't be, because we do have eligible expenses that we did obligate. It's just the reporting may have locked the system in those pieces and parts, and we would really need HUD to give us access to that.
Okay, so we're going back and get previous accounting information and matching it up. So
Yes.
we can say, like, this is what this expenditure went to.
Yes.
Let's pull from our funds to match that expenditure so we can get that money.
Yes. I mean, just matching that's the activity that occurs with any voucher.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Bailey and Mr. Jackson. All right. Any additional discussion regarding the financial reporting?
I got one thing.
Mr. Woods?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Thank you, ma'am. Do we spend any maintenance salaries in Section 8 things?
Do we spend maintenance salaries?
Yes. Do we? I guess I'll put this. I'm just kind of see where we ever spent some maintenance money on Section 8. My thought is that's not our public housing, so that.
So part of the Section 8 subsidy, with the rent, would include whatever maintenance the landlord has built into that rent, or whatever they would normally see as that. But we don't, outside of our HQS inspections with one of our employees, and also with another employee that handles HCV full time, that would be the only expenses that we would. I mean, not necessarily specifically maintenance, but that would be the only things that we expend personnel wise to the HCV program. Because that maintenance of a voucher subsidized unit is not our responsibility. It is the responsibility of the landlord. That's why we do the HQS inspections.
I got you on that.
Housing quality standards.
Yes, I got you on that. And maybe it's a question for our fee accountant. But I did notice on page 71 there was it says statement of revenue and expenditures. Page 71, 3 months ending 12/31/24, and I saw there was an entry in there for maintenance and repairs, and a thought came to my head, like, what maintenance do we do on landlord housing?
Which sub-account are you referring to? 941, 942, 940?
Yeah, that well, even all of those down there, I would say.
So maintenance salaries is the coding for the HQS inspector because he is a maintenance repairman.
Okay, that makes sense.
Materials,
materials,
would that be related to
Probably software.
But this I'd have to find out for sure. But it looks like this was something that was.
Is that related to? I don't know.
It was variance. It was varianced out.
Travel with the vehicle, or
possibly, or something.
I mean, I see that's a smaller
Yeah,
amount
Yeah.
for sure. So
I can find out.
And again, it's just as
Yeah.
I'm scrolling through, I
Mhm.
saw that and the thought came to my head.
Mhm.
It's the, our Section 8 housing, what maintenance. So just
But
a question, just an observation.
And it looks like I'm saying, it looks like it was varianced out, so it's not an actual. Looks like it was zeroed out, but I'll find out.
Okay.
I'll find
With
out for
that.
sure.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mhm.
all right, thank you, Mr. Woods. All right, any additional comments from the board? All right, seeing none, do we have a motion to accept financial reports into the record?
Mr. Chairman, to pass motion to accept the financials into the record.
All right, Commissioner Bailey has moved to accept the financial reports into the record. Do we have a second?
He just did.
Mr. Woods has seconded. Please cast your votes. All right, that motion passes. The next agenda item is our executive director report. Mr. Jackson.
Yes. Second. Thank you again, Chairman Jay and Commissioners. We hope that everyone's doing well tonight. We want to thank you, the Commissioners, our residents, and our stakeholders for their support and their guidance of this housing authority. In your board packet tonight, we have the February 2025 low rent report found on page 180. And I'll go through this report. For the month of February, we collected $14,156.30 in rent. Out of a total 129 units, we have 45 leased, 70 on our modernization status with 14 vacant. We did include the list of the vacant units and their status not only on this page in the report, but also in the spreadsheet that could be found starting on page 183. We also listed the units that are on modernization status at the Zalmans, at Booty, and at Hanville. We did issue 5 delinquent rent notices, and for the month of February, because the waiting list has gone down to 268 applicants, we did actually open our waiting list this past Friday for low rent public housing for 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units at the Booty property, and we closed it on Sunday. We're waiting for the results of that waiting list from our vendor that sets that up. We did send out 2 letters, and we did have 22 work orders that were completed and that started and completed in a timely manner at the Booty property. Again, I did provide you with a listing of our vacant units as of March the 18th, and their various states of either repair or whether they're move-in ready, and the process by which we are working to lease them up. We did just want to let you know that the fencing repair work at the boutique property has been completed since our last meeting. That was something that we were cited for and inspired, and so that has been addressed and taken care of. The next report that we have for you is the February 2025 HCV report. For general activity, we did have 4 port outs searching for housing from St. John, Hanover, and Jefferson Parish, 5 paying leased up from St. John, Kenner, Washington, Texas, and we did have 13 port-ins leased up, or billing rather, throughout a number of different housing authorities. We did have 1 EOP effective February the 28th, and for the month of February, we made $256,802 in HAP payments and also any administrative fee expenses. And for the month of February, we took in $278,586 from portables and also the HAP income and administrative income from HUD. We added 2 new landlords to our landlord list, and currently we have leased up 246 vouchers with 4 voucher holders searching. Excuse me. We did submit the February 2025 VMS report timely, but that was not available for this board packet. We will include that in the April 2025 board packet. We also want to let the board know that we received our CMAP performance rating, and we maintained our standard rating with a score of 78 after their review of the last fiscal year. We are in the process of indicating to HUD how we plan on improving where we had zeros or issues in our score, but we did maintain our standard rating, and we're working towards increasing that rating to high performer upon review of this current fiscal year's activity once this fiscal year closes. And as a part of the HCV report, I would like the board to know that we were notified in February that we are no longer in shortfall status. We're awaiting a meeting with HUD to ensure that our leasing up of new vouchers or paying for any new port-ins will be done in a fiscally prudent way as to avoid shortfall status in the future. And we will definitely keep the board aware of those conversations. We do have 2 resolutions being considered by the board tonight. The first being a resolution approving and adopting Revision 1 of our annual public housing agency plan. This is needed to proceed with the application preparation and submission of the RAD Section 18 blend repositioning strategy. Our original annual plan submission specifically mentioned the streamlined voluntary conversion repositioning process, which is no longer an option through HUD to redevelop our properties. So that language was removed and replaced with the RAD Section 18 blend strategy, which is how the agency is proceeding. And we'll provide an additional update on that during that portion of the agenda as it relates to the repositioning. The second resolution to be considered tonight is to select a vendor to make repairs to the fire damaged unit at the boutique property. As a reminder to the board, after the reading of the resolution and board discussion, one board member must make a motion to select a specific vendor from the 4 vendors that were considered responsive to the solicitation. We did complete the on-site portion of the audit with Mike Estes's audit firm. We were given a list of follow-up items that we are in the process of gathering and sending electronically. While there were some questions regarding previous fiscal year activity in regards to client file quality control, CMAP quality control, retirement refunds, overall, Mr. Estes was pleased with the performance of the agency in the last fiscal year. He communicated that verbally. While I want to qualify that statement by saying we will not know what his final report will indicate yet, but there were no critical concerns communicated by Mr. Estes during his visit. We'll continue to update the Audit Finance Committee and the board of any updates as they become available. And lastly, tonight, for my report, Commissioners Jay and Woods, along with myself, attended the NARO Legislative Conference in Washington, D.C. We were able to meet with the offices of Speaker Mike Johnson, Majority Leader Steve Scalise, Congressman Troy Carter, Congressman Clay Higgins, Congressman Cleo Fields, and Senator Bill Cassidy. We are currently working to set up a meeting with Senator Kennedy's office, and we met with these offices to communicate the importance of HUD programs that will benefit and positively affect the quality of life of residents in St. Charles Parish. And each office did respond positively to our discussions, and we thank them and our NARA national and local colleagues who helped facilitate those meetings, which provided valuable information and training at the conference as well. Additionally, the Congress did pass, right after we left actually, and President Trump signed into law a continuing resolution that was a very hot topic during the conversation while we were in D.C. It was a subject of much conversation because of the effect that it would have nationally on our programs. Specifically, the bill included the following: $32.14 billion for the tenant-based rental assistance program, which is the Section 8 vouchers, and that was actually a $3.65 billion increase from the previous fiscal year. But because of how that program has been funded, there still will probably be a shortfall situation across the country. For the project-based rental assistance program, it received an $880 million increase to $16.89 billion, and there is an expectation, just in discussions at the conference and nationally, that that resource will be increasing into the future because of how HUD is working to expand repositioning opportunities for housing authorities, and post-close of redevelopments units will mostly become project-based voucher units. There was also, unfortunately, a cut to the Community Development Fund that I'm mentioning only because that would probably have been a resource that we would have reached out to regarding our repositioning assets request. But I just wanted to make sure that the board was aware of that as well. And with that, Commissioners, that concludes my report. Please let me know if you have any questions.
All right, thank you, Mr. Jackson. Mr. Bailey.
Ask how are we doing on collecting on the reporting and stuff? Are they all the agencies like paying us out?
Yes. And we actually, just to let you know, we got a request for money from agency where one of our voucher holders went to, and we did confirm that we had already made that payment. So, okay, so we're on top of that. Absolutely, yes, sir.
All right, Mr. Woods.
Yes. Mr. Jackson.
Yes, sir.
On page 182, when we talk about maintenance and the reporting, what's on this sheet currently, honestly, it just doesn't tell me very much, or tell the board very much. What can we do, or is there, however you put information into the PIC system, that we can maybe get some reporting as to kind of some of the specifics of what's going on, just what are we doing out there. Right now we just get a total, how many were done, and just started, time. That be something where, I don't know how many light fixtures, or just something that, what are we actually doing, or what are some of the problems we're having, or how many are emergency things, or just more information that we have a picture in our head of just what's going on out there.
I don't, so that would be a report, not necessarily that would come out of PIC, but it would come out of our Happy software. But it's a report that we could pull. The level of detail of that report, I don't know yet because I've not yet pulled a report like that specifically, but because we've just been tracking the work orders by because we have a paper printout that everybody signs off on. That's how we've been tracking that. But we can definitely pull that report and provide it to the board along with the low rent report every month. If that's something that you all would like to see specifically.
I mean, I would. I'm looking at how the rest of the board.
Are we sticking with Happy, or are we still looking for?
That actually is we're in the process of transitioning to PHA Web.
PHA Web.
That is not actually going to happen until November because they had a backlog. So we're still using Happy for the time being.
But when PHA Web comes along, we'll be able to get portal access to see what's going on with
We can ask, yeah. We didn't discuss that necessarily with PHA Web on the front end, but we can ask, absolutely.
Then you make it real time info. Also, you being able to see what service issues are open, or work orders are open, and what work orders are closed.
And that's kind of some of the tracking I had in
Mhm.
mind. It's kind of saying that our maintenance is current, emergencies are taken
Mhm.
care of in a timely manner. Just a little more information. This just doesn't, I can't get any kind of visual of just what's happening out there overseas. So if the rest of the board is amenable to that, just kind of give a report on just what maintenance is actually happening.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
I was going to say on the same page, how we have the waiting list down at 268 applicants.
Mhm.
We can have where we down from.
Okay.
If possible, just so we know.
We did a purge. I think that because we just cleared that up once we finished the purge, so that's the first month. Because the last couple of months, I don't believe we had a specific number here.
Okay.
But definitely we can go from what to what, from month to month.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Woods, Mr. Bailey, Mr. Jackson. Any additional comments or questions? All right. Seeing none, thank you, Mr. Jackson.
I have one more. As I thought about it earlier, so how many? We have 5 delinquencies.
That's the notices that we sent
We have
out.
5 notices.
Yes.
Just so I can just get feedback. What's the issue with the tenants being late on? Because
It depends.
it's just
I mean, it really is person to person, situation to situation. I mean,
like financial hardship or
yeah, and we when because I don't know if you noticed, our rent collections picked up considerably, and that's because we communicated to the residents. And forgive me, I do apologize for this. I should have done this at the beginning. We do have a resident commissioner sitting on the board tonight. The dais, Mr. Gilbert Joseph. He was appointed by the parish president, and we want to thank him for him being here and also his service to the community. But we did notify the residents of the entire property, just to be mindful to be timely with their rent, and also the process by which, if they weren't, or if they had a hardship or a situation that occurred, that we would work with them, be willing to work with them to address that. Yeah, I mean, we don't. Eviction is not the first option if they're late during the prescribed period of time. And actually, we're in the process of updating the leases at recertification, because the rules changed now. Really and truly, residents, instead of the 15 days, they actually get 30 days of leniency in terms of facing eviction. But we still want to work with them if they are past the prescribed 5 days that we request payment to be made. So, just making sure, because we have a number of residents that are on repayment agreements right now, and just to make sure that the obligations are met on both sides. And so to answer your question,
5 vacancies sound like a lot. I mean, we don't need 5 vacancies.
No.
Just make sure they know and to communicate, and if any resources out there that can help them, that we make sure they get those resources to catch up on their rent.
And I'll be honest, the resources are always expended within the first couple of months of the year, just because it's so limited. There's a multifaceted reason why I mentioned the community development cut, because a lot of community resources like unhoused prevention shelters and rental assistance comes from, if not private donations, definitely community development grant applications that are made to the different municipalities. So that's definitely an issue. But yeah, no, we do work with families when we issue notices. If it's getting to that day and we notice that they have not paid, we touch base with them one-on-one to make sure that they are reminded. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, Commissioner Bailey. All right, our next agenda item is our resolutions. This evening we have 2 resolutions before us. We will open for public comment. If you wish to speak regarding the resolution, you may come forward now. Our first resolution before us this evening is Resolution 2503-2501, approving and adopting revision number 1 of the fiscal year 2024 annual plan. If there's anyone, member of the public that wishes to speak on this issue, public comment is now open. Seeing none, public comment is closed. All right. Approval and adoption of revision number 2 of the fiscal year 2024 annual plan. This is number 2, correct?
1.
It's 1?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
the revision to the original.
Okay.
Yeah, the reasons.
All right. Approval and adoption of revision 1 of the fiscal year 2024 annual plan. Purpose of the memorandum that you received is to provide an overview of the proposed revision 1 of the fiscal year 2024 annual plan for St. Charles Parish Housing Authority. Background: Authority is a public housing agency established pursuant to Louisiana law, whose mission is to provide adequate and affordable housing, economic opportunity, and a living environment free from discrimination. Committed to the authority's mission, the staff is continuously working to improve services, strengthen operations, and implement sound policy. The 5-year and annual PHA plans provide a ready source for interested parties to locate basic PHA policies, rules and requirements concerning the PHA's operations, programs, and services, including changes to these policies, and informs HUD, families served by the PHA, and members of the public of the PHA's missions, goals, and objectives for serving the needs of low-income, very low-income, and extremely low-income families. Due to the authority withdrawing the streamlined voluntary conversion application, a revision of the PHA plan was necessary to include language indicating that the agency was transitioning to the RAD Section 18 blend repositioning strategy application. There is action required. Its approval and adoption of the plan is required to effectuate these approvals to ensure compliance with HUD regulatory provisions. The staff recommends board approval and adoption of the proposed revision 1 of the annual plan by the way of the corresponding resolution. Is there any board discussion?
Just for the record.
Sure.
I would like to add that we did have, prior to this meeting, the planning hearing, the PHA plan hearing at 5 o'clock. It was open at 5:08, and we did leave the floor open for any public comment. We did not receive any public comment, either at the public hearing or by way of public comment received online or at our offices. Just want to make sure to indicate that for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Regarding Resolution 2503-2501, is there any discussion from the board?
Just for clarification, we're pretty much taking out the language of streamlined conversion and added the RAD Section 18 to this document.
That's correct.
To make sure we're in compliance.
Yes, sir.
Just to make sure it's just clear. I know what it is, but I'm just saying it's clear. We're just changing the language because we have to do this change of program.
Mm-hmm. And we mentioned that also during the planning hearing.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Bailey. All right, Resolution 2503-2501. Is there any further board discussion? All right, we have a motion from Commissioner Woods. Commissioner Woods.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve a resolution 25-03-2501, a resolution of St. Charles Parish Housing Authority Board of Commissioners approving and adopting revision 1 of the fiscal year 2024 annual plan.
All right, we have a motion from Commissioner Woods to approve Resolution 2503-2501, resolution of St. Charles Parish Housing Authority Board of Commissioners approving and adopting Revision 1 of the fiscal year 2024 annual plan. That's been seconded by Commissioner Bailey. Is there any debate on the subject? All right, seeing none, please cast your votes. right, that motion passes. Therefore, the undersigned, being the duly elected Secretary of St. Charles Parish Housing Authority, hereby certifies that by written consent, the following resolution was duly adopted. Whereas St. Charles Parish Housing Authority, the authority is a public housing agency established pursuant to Louisiana law, and whereas the mission of the authority is to promote adequate and affordable housing, economic opportunity, and a suitable living environment free from discrimination, and whereas the proposed revision 1 of the annual PHA plan provides a ready source for interested parties to locate basic PHA policies, rules, and requirements concerning PHA's operations, programs, and services, including changes to these policies, and informs HUD, families served by the PHA, and members of the public of the PHA's mission, goals, and objectives for serving the needs of low-income, very low-income, and extremely low-income families. And whereas the authority withdrew its streamlined voluntary conversion application, a revision of the PHA plan was necessary to include language indicating the agency was transitioning to the RAD Section 18 blend repositioning strategy application. Whereas the staff prepared the attached revision 1 of the fiscal year 2024 annual plan and requested the Board of Commissioners approval and adoption of the same. Now therefore be it resolved that the proposed revision 1 of the fiscal year 2024 annual plan is hereby approved and adopted for implementation. Above resolution was read in full. Roll call called on the adoption of same, and the vote was unanimous. Thank you. One more resolution before us this evening. We will open again for public comments.
What page is that resolution?
It's like 189. Yeah, something. Approximately 189, I believe. Resolution 2503-2502. Resolution approving and adopting resolution for selection of a vendor for the RFP 001-2025. At this time, public comment is open. If you'd like to speak, you may come forward and do so now.
It's on page 220.
220. Thank you, sir.
My apologies. If anyone wishes to speak regarding Resolution 2503-2502, approving and adopting a resolution for the selection of a vendor for RFP 001-2025, you may do so now. Seeing none, public comment is now closed. Resolution 2503-2502. It's a resolution of the St. Charles Parish Housing Authority Board of Commissioners approving and adopting a resolution for the selection of a vendor for RFP 001-2025. Y'all have received a memorandum that is in your packet. The purpose of the memorandum is to provide an overview of proposed resolution for approval and adoption for the selection of a vendor for RFP 001-2025 for the renovation of a fire-damaged unit at the Booty property. We must let out requests for proposals or RFPs for qualified responsive vendors to complete work on behalf of the authority. In April 2024, Unit 254 at the Booty property caught fire and was heavily damaged. In order to bring the unit back online, the damage was significant enough to require a solicitation to have the work completed. The authority advertised solicitation for RFP 001-2025, which would allow for the selection of a vendor to renovate the fire-damaged unit at the Booty property. In response to the advertisement and solicitation, the authority received 4 on-time and responsive proposals from Project One Developments, HBP Construction, Juno and Juno Construction, and Guarantee Restoration Services. There is action required. Approval and adoption of this resolution by the Board of Commissioners required for the authority to award a vendor the work associated with RFP to board up and the vacant unit at the property. Recommendation, staff recommends board approval and adoption of proposed resolution. As the staff scored the RFP based on our scoring criteria as listed in the solicitation, the scores were as follows. Project 1 Developments received a 90. Guarantee Restoration Services, 86.67. HBP Construction and Consulting, LLC, 77.67. Juno and Juno Construction received a 67. All 4 vendors are considered qualified and responsive to the solicitation. Project 1 Developments was the highest score based on the committee's technical scoring criteria and had the second best price proposal. Guarantee Restoration Services price proposal was the best of the 4 respondents, and they scored second in the technical categories. With the scoring completed, staff recommends the selection of Project 1 Developments as the vendor for RFP 001-2025. As this is an RFP, the selection of vendor is ultimately the board's decision, as all 4 vendors that were scored were deemed qualified and responsive. A motion for one of the qualified vendors is needed by a member of the board to begin the process of consideration and ultimately selection through the corresponding resolution. Is there any board discussion?
Trying to get my thoughts together. I do have a discussion. You said staff recommended which one?
Project 1 Developments.
Okay.
For
Go ahead, Mr. Jackson.
the record, when we do recommendations based on an RFP, it's based on who scored the highest. So that's that's the only criteria that we use. But again, the decision for who the board would like to award the work to is up to the board completely. Yes.
And then I just want to have just a because I did go through their cost fee proposals.
Mhm.
Somehow my mind went on GRS. Because again, saying that everybody's equally qualified, everybody's on the same level. That's what I'm hearing. But I saw where their site supervisor cost was considerably lower than P1.
Yeah, so Project 1 Developments was the highest score for the technical data, but they were the second best price.
Right. So with that, Mr. Chairman,
And for the record as well, when we score price with a RFP, it's a sliding scale. So whoever has the best price receives all the points. Second best receives 2 points less. Third best 2 points, 4 points, and then 6. So it's depending on where you fall based on what you, because that's the last thing we actually do score. The technical criteria comes first, and then the price proposal is last.
appreciate that
Mhm.
information.
Yes, sir.
So I'm gonna- for that reason, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to, you said to need a motion to choose somebody?
Yes, sir.
So with that, Mr. Chairman, and for the reason that I kind of stated that their price is a little better also, I'm going to make a motion that we approve GRS for this job.
All right, thank you, Mr. Woods. Mr. Woods has moved on this resolution to approve the resolution with Guarantee Restoration Services as the vendor. Do we have a second?
I don't want to tell you what to do on that issue.
All right. Seeing no second, that motion fails.
Oh, did you?
No. It was need a second.
And it's rare we've even had this kind of discussion, to be honest with you, because we have better information now to dig in.
Yeah, Mr. Woods, I'm going to give you the floor if you'd like to discuss that. It appears that several of our board members are still making, second pass
That's
upon
good,
the
and that's a good
information
thing.
they've
I'll say
received.
that's
So,
a very good thing. With that, Mr. Chair, I just want to say that, and it's just the reality of it. The whole process has gotten better. There's more information now to consider and to see. So as we looked at the numbers and all that good stuff, my reasoning for that was just that I have more information in front of me. I'm looking at everybody's equally qualified to do a job or do the job. And so, with that in mind, is why I'm looking at the price and why I would go with the lesser price. That's my reasoning for why I'm making this motion.
No, I agree with you, Mr. Woods. This process has become a whole lot more transparent, very much more detailed. The information, I believe, for the board to make an informed decision has certainly been made available. And I appreciate Mr. Jackson's work and the staff on making that available to us. So I do thank you. And just in my perspective, between the top two scores, Project 1 Developments, Guaranteed Restoration Services, we're talking about a score of a 90 and a score of an 86.67. And as Mr. Jackson pointed out, it is on a sliding scale regarding the price. And we discussed the price differences between Project 1 and Guarantee Restoration Services. So really, truthfully, I believe the scores, the differences between the two, in my personal opinion, is negligible.
Mm-hmm.
I think the majority of that is price-based.
Yes.
I mean, which I agree, but I'm also looking at, it's just a lot. I'm looking at prior projects.
Sure.
That's just it's a lot of detailed information. And also from my experience, cheapest price don't always be the best quality work too. So
I get you on that, but I think the staff is saying that they're all equally qualified.
And for the record, Commissioner Woods, that statement is made because it is a request for proposals based on the qualifications to do the work. And that's why price is like the last thing to be evaluated.
And I would say qualified to do the work, having the right criteria to do the work, the technical data to do the work, and the price, none of them are reflective of actual work product quality. Is there any further discussion from the board?
Is that a motion?
Yeah, Mr. Well, I declared that it had failed, so I would ask Mr. Woods to restate the motion to bring it back up for a vote, and if we can get a second.
Okay. Mr. Chair, further the discussion, and I've really learned more since I started, to be honest with you. But even with that, it's not for me, not just the pricing, but the quality of work and all of that good stuff. And so I'm going to restate that motion that we award this contract to GRS Services. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Woods. Mr. Woods has moved on resolution an RFP 001-2025 to award the contract to Guarantee Restoration Services. Do we have a second? A second?
You can if that's your choice.
Yeah, I'll have it.
He was trying to second.
He's trying to second.
Do we have that up there?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we do have a second by Commissioner Joseph. So
Okay, I'm agree.
not sure of the technical issue, but is there any debate on the issue? All right, seeing none.
I'm gonna debate it. Let's
Huh?
go.
All right, seeing none, cast your votes. All right, that passes. with awarding the contract to Guarantee Restoration Services. Resolution 2503-2502, a resolution of St. Charles Parish Housing Authority Board of Commissioners approving and adopting a resolution for the selection of a vendor for RFP 001-2025. Undersigned, being the duly elected Secretary of St. Charles Parish Housing Authority, hereby certifies that by written consent, following resolution was duly adopted. Whereas St. Charles Parish Housing Authority, the authority is a public housing agency established pursuant to Louisiana law. And whereas the mission of the authority is to promote adequate and affordable housing, economic opportunity, and a suitable living environment free from discrimination. And whereas the authority must from time to time let an advertisement of a request for proposal or RFP to select a qualified and responsive vendor to complete work on behalf of the authority. And whereas the authority, in line with its procurement policy, and authorize its executive director or designee to let an advertisement of an RFP to allow the Board of Commissioners to select qualified and responsive vendor to renovate fire damage unit at Boutte Property, 200 Boutte Estates Drive, Boutte, Louisiana 70039, Unit 254. Whereas the authority received 4 on-time responsive proposals to a solicitation from Guarantee Restoration Services, Juno and Juno Construction, HBP Construction and Consulting, and Project One Developments. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board hereby selects Guarantee Restoration Services as the vendor for RFP 001-2025 as their received proposal aligns with the advertised scope of work and the agency's budgetary limitations. The Board of Commissioners hereby authorizes the Executive Director to negotiate, if needed, with the vendor and to enter a contractual agreement with Guarantee Restoration Services to perform the work associated with RFP 001-2025. The above resolution has now been read in full. Vote was called on adoption of the same, and the vote was as follows. It was unanimous. I therefore certify the resolution adopted and true and complete record. Thank you. Let's see. All right, go ahead, Commissioner.
No, I know about to move to the next. Before we move to the next agenda item, I would say I'd like to see look more into the criteria, but also if we can have our own summary as well, because just kind of certain things that we want to look for in contractors also, because I know that HUD has their way of scoring, but we also need our way of scoring, so we can say, well, we know what HUD looks at, but this is what we want to see.
Mm-hmm. And so that is a part of the, and that's a great question, Commissioner Bailey. That is a part of the RFP, specifically as it relates to the criteria. So just on a scale of 100, organizational capacity and experience, track record in providing residential services to renovate damaged units for housing authorities or agency of similar nature, size, and complexity. That was 35 points. 30 points for approaching how they address the required scope of work as it relates to the solicitation. 10 points as it relates to responsiveness of the proposal and articulating a clear understanding. 15 as it relates to the cross proposal. Again, that's the one that's sliding scale, and 2 optional scoring categories, one for DBE preference and also Section 3 plans and commitments. Those are 5 points each, so that comes out to the 100 points. So I'll definitely make sure that that's a part of the board packet the next time we consider.
It's just.
Didn't we? I think I have a page that just said just what you said.
Yes,
we do have that page to scoring. Yeah. But I mean, can we have additional things that? I know that I see the HUD one, but what about maybe certain things that we want to look for as board members?
You want to be careful with
that.
How we with that objectively being or subjectively being a criteria.
Yeah, follow the HUD guidelines, you stay safe.
Well, and I mean, like with performance, you want to know what the vendors have done previously, but unless they've been disqualified or they've worked for us before and we had to cancel the contract, you really, in an RFP or RFQ, you can't hold them accountable for that. The scoring committee or the board generally, because it has to be based on their qualifications.
So if that's the case, then would that mean they would have to pick the one with the highest? Because that would mean that would be the one that's in HUD's mind, that would be the one that's the best. See, that's kind of what I'm getting at. It's like, we get.
I mean, you can vote
scores, and then but if we can't have our own, I guess you'll say our own opinion, then we should always lean with the one that scores the highest with HUD.
Not necessarily. You can bring forth any of the ones that have submitted a proposal and that are scored in your motion, and then once that motion is brought to the table, if it's seconded, there's debate on the issue. If you have a personal preference for that particular individual, you as an individual board member can then bring that forward in debate.
But collectively, we can't. Right. Okay.
We don't want to assign a score based on their response to an RFP based on something that can't be quantifiable.
Right.
Your opinion of workmanship, or you can certainly bring that as an influencing factor in your decision, and then bring it to the attention of the board prior to a vote.
Okay. It's a lot. It's a lot of info.
I'm just glad that the process that we've based on the updates to our policies and procedures and everything. This is a much more efficient and transparent process, and we have all the information in front of us to make informed decisions.
And these questions are necessary. So that's definitely your prerogative as a board member.
Good discussion.
Before moving on, is there anything else from the board? All right. Next agenda items is other matters. So, if there's any other matters that we would like before us this evening that need to be discussed?
Well, I just want to point this out. I did speak with the executive director a few minutes about it. Yes, we did have a wonderful conference and got to meet some great people there, and people not even far away from us. So I was talking to our executive director, met some people from East Baton Rouge Housing Authority. So if we could sometime in the future maybe just go and visit with them, see what's going on. They have some good things going on up there. Maybe have some commissioner time where questions you can ask, maybe just a commissioner. But I guess what I'm just trying to get at, they're that close. They're doing things that are great, that where we want to aspire to and to do. So I'm hoping sometime in the future we can plan a trip to go and be with them for a few hours a day or whatever, and schedule some time and view some of their sites, just see what they're doing. That trip,
other parishes.
Yeah, just see what's going on closer. We've not done that, but it was very interesting to meet those people in Washington, D.C., and they're only 45 minutes away from us, and doing some of the things that we are aspiring to doing. So if in the future, if the rest of the board or whatever would like to do that, I think that there's some value in just getting with other authorities to see what's out there and just how they are getting things done.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Woods. I highly encourage every commissioner on this board to not only participate in the conferences and the different trainings that come available throughout the year, but as we network at these different events and get to know commissioners and staff at other agencies, everybody's got different sized agencies and different things going on, but we can all learn from one another to improve and be more efficient in what we do, and see how different agencies are dealing with issues and budgets, and at the end of the day, we all want to be able to do the best possible service to our residents at the lowest cost possible. So appreciate that, Mr. Woods and Mr. Bailey.
Comes to my mind about like Parish is doing different projects. Wasn't Paul Mallory going through some kind of revitalization? Is that still happening?
That is a parish thing that's going through. Mr. Brula may.
It is still
Still
happening.
going on. I'm part of the walking paths and all Mallard are part of that, but
It's a long-term plan.
yes.
It's a long-term plan. Because I mean, that our site is close. It'll be we're off of Paul Mallory. I know it's not in the same area, but if we can kind of piggyback on that, bring some community development, cutting funds, but I think that would be. I like your mindset.
Is part of it.
Yeah.
And I'll go through this, but a big theme when we were in there, it was about economic development.
Mhm.
Housing is what it is, but we can look at it as a way to bring economic development, say, to St. Charles Parish. We want to build more housing communities, so absolutely, just from that perspective of just economic development, trying to make it more palatable and inviting for developers and stuff to come into the parish and just help us grow.
Thank you, Commissioners Woods, Bailey, and DeBruy. Appreciate that. Are there any other matters before us at this time, not currently on the agenda, that need to be addressed? Commissioner Woods, did you have something else?
No, that was it. Thank you, Mr.
All right.
Chairman.
Our next agenda item is the RAD Section 18 conversion update. That, just for your reference, that's on page 356 of your package this month.
And
Go ahead, Mr. Jackson.
I apologize.
I'm about to call on you.
As an update, and thank you again, Commissioners. As an update to the board, we have continued to work towards the submission of the RAD Section 18 blend application. Two very big items will have been checked off our checklist at the end of this meeting, with our PHA plan revision being one of them, and our community meetings that we're required to hold with residents. Myself and Richard Murray with Standard Enterprises conducted the required 2 community meetings with the Boutique residents on last Thursday, March the 20th, 2025. Mr. Commissioner Joseph was in attendance at one of those meetings. We held one at 3 o'clock and then the other at 6:30 for any residents who may have had scheduling issues and couldn't make one or the other. We communicated and received feedback on the following. We did provide a historical summary of our prior public meetings because for a number of the residents, this was their second as it relates to the demolition and disposition in the previous streamlined voluntary conversion plan application. We discussed the submission of the RAD Section 18 blend application and draft conversion plan that we would be submitting to HUD for approval. We talked about the family's right to remain in the unit using tenant-based HCV assistance, and also their right to return to the unit if their unit was one that they were occupying and wished to return to after the redevelopment was concluded. We discussed the difference between the HCV assistance program and also the project-based voucher assistance program, which is kind of what I touched on earlier, including income limits and families' total tenant payment. We discussed the mobility options, the rent levels, and the rent payments and that process. Written consent also we discussed with them as it relates to a family's decision to consent to relinquish its rights to receive the assistance, basically indicating that they did not wish to return to the property. They would have to indicate that in writing. An anticipated date of the conversion action, basically like a timeline and a schedule a projected timeline and schedule that we provided to the residents, and also which is in your packet in that document that you received. The construction and the scope of work for each property as it relates to the Zalmans, Hanville, and also Boutique, and that's the actual process by which we would go through first the Zalmans, then Hanville, then Boutique, and also the execution of a project-based voucher contract between ourselves and Standard, and also designating who on our staff and also through Standard would be available for any follow-up questions for residents. So we're going to be sending another letter And just as an FYI, prior to the meeting, we provided letters to all occupied units at the boutique property, indicating that the meeting was being held, also indicating their rights as it relates to the ability to return, and also any specific construction and or scope related questions they may have needed answered. And that was all, again, provided collaboratively between our office and Standard Enterprises. We did receive positive feedback from the residents. There were 21 residents in attendance, or 21 households rather, in attendance across the two meetings. Of course, the biggest concern that was communicated was the fact that HUD chose not to proceed with the SVCs across the country, further delaying what they were all anticipating. But overall, the residents were pleased that we were still pursuing a repositioning process through the Section 18, the RAD Section 18 blend. We also did get an update from Standard as it relates to our projected funding gap, which was originally projected at $4.2 million and is now projected at $3.175 million. I would ask that now that we know what we need to proceed with funding-wise, that we work collaboratively to reach stakeholders who may be able to assist. Some I know we've already identified in internal discussions and had conversations with to impress upon them the importance of their assistance in closing that funding gap. Lastly, Richard and I will be meeting this week to begin going through the application to update what we can. Now that we do have the approved PHA plan, and also we did conclude those resident meetings, and we will provide an update to the board of the status of the application at the next meeting.
Mr. Jackson, I did have some questions just in regarding, I know we're trying to get everything right so it gets final approval from HUD. And I know one of our resolutions was regarding to our annual plan to change the terminology of RAD and from the streamlined voluntary conversion. I do notice that in our board package, there's several mentions of streamlined voluntary conversion in the update. Does that in any way affect the application? Is this just for our eyes only? Or
Yeah, it's just.
Is this part of our package as far as the update?
It's just for your eyes only. That was so, and it was actually a question that Commissioner Woods asked also. So we're about to start the process of the FY25 annual plan. So we're going to have to go through kind of this all over again. But this was just done to make sure that we could get the application submitted and started.
That's fine. I just wanted to make sure that, I know we have to submit so much documentation to HUD, and I know that a lot of it, even though we're not doing the streamlined voluntary conversion, a lot of it is the same paperwork.
Yes.
For the RAD program. And I just want to make sure that as we submit that we, dot all our I's, cross our T's, and then also seek out any place that we may mention the streamlined voluntary conversion and make sure that the right terminology is used. So we don't get anything kicked back over
for whatever reason.
A typographical mishap.
And that document was updated a couple of times. So, but that's not what the residents received. Everything specifically stating RAD Section 18 blend.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Just wanted to clarify that.
Yes, sir.
Recovery update. Our next agenda item is. Go ahead, Mr. Woods.
Yeah, if you would, and then piggybacking off what you just said. I know we always see this stuff, but if it doesn't matter to HUD or our development partner, I'd say it doesn't matter to me. But however, on page 356, we talk about project-specific fact sheet. That's what I want to get at. It says Housing Authority of St. Charles Parish, and then you look at other documents in the same package, the St. Charles Parish Housing Authority. So does that make a difference?
Wow. I'm sorry. I don't know. I don't know. That was a problem?
We had an issue when we first started the streamlined voluntary conversion. Some of the HUD programs had us listed as Housing Authority of St. Charles Parish, and other HUD services, software, etc., documentation St. Charles Parish Housing Authority. And at one point, the field office offered to have us clarify, change over, and mitigate any discrepancies just from, use. And honestly, that was a couple years ago now, so I don't remember what version we actually landed on, but if maybe we could get clarification and make sure that all of our documentation
It's specific to.
is the same, so we don't have any issues.
I did notice on that page.
It's a great question, honestly. I didn't even. That's not even something that I considered because I didn't. Yeah, but absolutely. Yeah, thank you.
And I think that could be some carryover from some of the old systems having it written one way. And honestly, I mean, just in regular use, it's interchangeable. It comes up and that's the St. Charles Housing Authority, or Housing Authority St. Charles. But we do want to
Be consistent.
I have a feeling the consistent proper name is based on the newer logo that we're currently using on everything. But let's clarify that and then
Absolutely.
make sure that everything is the same.
Yeah, I want to say that's right because when HUD field office address us, it says St. Charles Parish Housing Authority.
Yeah.
But that's when they address us. But I don't assume that's the right one.
Because it was an issue that came up where we had submitted documentation to HUD, and one office approved it based on the documentation they had. Another office had additional documentation that had it another way, and the names didn't match up. Of course, our PHA number was the same regardless.
Yeah.
But I don't want anything to slow down this process.
Yes,
so I
sir.
wanna make sure that
Which is why.
Absolutely.
exactly the way that HUD wants it, regardless of which system they're looking at it.
And forgive me, that makes sense. Absolutely. When you said that, I was kind of like, whoa, that kind of blew my mind a little bit. But yeah.
That's before your time is.
And with that, Mr. Chairman, I do have one. Still have another.
Go ahead, Mr. Woods.
Again, the resignation process. We're there. I guess my specific question, the financial plan part of it, where are our development partners at? How do we go out and talk about these numbers? I guess, is that piece of the puzzle worked on or whatever? Will there be something in the near future that we can say, here is our financial plan that we all study and understand?
So, and that's why I explained in my report collaborative conversations about how we ask. That's something I'm going to be working with Richard on, because if I'll say this, the what he provided me with was what's called sources and uses, and it gave a breakdown that I had to ask for him to explain. Because there was things highlighted, there was pluses, minuses, and it was just very technical. And we want to make sure we can get something like that one pager that we created for the DC visits to provide to any stakeholder that we talk to. That's why I was just saying collaboratively, because I would prefer, and again, this is the board's prerogative, but I would prefer that we speak similarly when we're having those conversations. Yeah.
When you have those meetings with Stan, Mr. Burrow, could a commissioner be in the room at the time?
Absolutely.
I'm just saying that way we are understanding what thought patterns or logic and what the actual numbers are, so we can have those public conversations with stakeholders.
Just as long as it's not a quorum.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
And just so the general public knows, those watching online or via government access, we have just in the last couple of months we've created a finance and audit review committee. We have designated a commissioner to be present in the meetings with Standard Enterprises for that, and we've done a lot of things to make sure we now have a new resident commissioner on the board. Thank you, Mr. Conservative. We've moved a lot of things around and created things within the board and the way that agency responds to the board, etc. to you know streamline our operations, make sure that things are efficient, and that there's a form of transparency for the public and for our residents to truly kind of see what is going on. And I hope that that's evident, but I also want to make it known to those listening that we are working on those procedures and technicalities to make sure that it's available. Right. Anything else from the board regarding our conversion update? Right. Seeing none, next agenda item this evening is our recovery agreement update. Mr. Jackson.
And this is, thank you again, Commissioner Jay. This is going to be very brief update. I did in your packet, starting on page 363, provide you with just a FYI in terms of the recovery agreement that was executed between the Housing Authority and the local field office. We have been submitting quarterly letters and updates to the HUD field office indicating our progress as it relates to compliance with the recovery agreement, and we will be submitting our mandated letter on tomorrow to HUD highlighting our compliance as well that we agreed to in June of 2024, and we are confident that we will continue to meet or exceed the required areas of compliance. We currently have a plan to be in full compliance by the end of this fiscal year in terms of occupancy. That's primarily why we have that vacancy tracker, so we know what we need to do to get to the 85% mandate by the end of this fiscal year, which will be September. In terms of our financial performance and submissions, we've been timely on those, as well as the criteria regarding our physical condition of our units by getting the Inspire 77 score. We met that already, and working towards the repositioning of the units. I did speak with Alvitra when we had to pivot from the streamlined voluntary conversion process, and she indicated that we would need an amendment, but they would be the ones to initiate that process, just so it's clear that we would be, or we're in the process of going through the RAD Section 18 blend application checklist. And that concludes my update on the recovery agreement.
All right, Mr. Jackson, and I know this letter is dated, we have a letter in our packet dated from 2024 in June. But I just wanted to clarify, I know we've discussed this in the past, but I just know that as HUD's making changes and we're updating software, I just want to make sure that all of the correspondence that we receive from the field office goes to the right people. I know that there's some email addresses that are antiquated, and also commissioner members have, we have Mr. Joseph on the board now. Mr. Brouillet is the new ex officio to the parish, and I just want to make sure you're our new executive director. I just want to make sure that everything from HUD is going to the right designated people, and I know there's so many different systems. I want to make sure we don't have anything, fall through the cracks because it's going to, an official that's no longer with us or that's serving in a different capacity.
Yeah, and thank you for that, Commissioner Jay. That's actually, I think that was one of the first things that we did was update the points of contact in PIC in terms of maybe in the ED and some of the commissioner updates. We do need to notify the field office, as this is the first meeting that Mr. Joseph's sitting in at. We have a new resident commissioner, so we'll make sure that list is current. Absolutely.
I just want to commend Mr. Jackson. I know we've had this conversation. In this recovery agreement, we are current on what HUD has required us to be doing. Our compliance level is very good, and we will, I'll say, continue to meet the deadlines that HUD has for us, so we can come under this
Yeah, yes, sir. Just as an FYI, with that agreement, of course, it's HUD's prerogative on the field office on what they wish to do if we don't meet 8 criteria, but that would have triggered something by now if we hadn't gotten to where we are now. And again, that's much to the credit of the board as well as the staff in working to address those areas of concern. I mean, just to and I've asked local HUD, when are we coming off? When are we coming off the trouble list? I know one thing that they indicated was, well, when we meet the terms of the recovery agreement, but I know for sure our scores are going to be improving to where not going to say, again, it's their prerogative, but it will definitely support our intention to come out of troubled status. Absolutely.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yes, sir.
Hey, any additional discussion from the board this evening? All right, seeing none, we now open for public comment. If there's anyone here this evening that wishes to address the board for any reason at all, you may come forward now. Please state your name and your address.
Paul Juno.
And you have 3 minutes.
Juno and Juno Construction. I was just wondering how to get the score up on the RFPs and the contracts. How would I bring our score level up? I mean, I could afterwards talk to.
Yeah, definitely. We can meet, talk with any responses to any RFPs. The answering of the questions in the detail that's provided really affects the scores in the different areas.
So it's just a more detail
Yes.
on the contract and like.
Right. So, like for an example, just if we're asking how you plan to execute the scope as it's listed, as much detail as possible is what we're looking for.
Okay.
Absolutely, yeah.
All right. We'll talk after.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here,
Thank you, sir.
and thank you for submitting. Yes, sir.
All right, public comment is still open. If there's anyone that wishes to address the board, you may come forward now. Seeing none, public comment is closed. Do we have a motion from the board?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
I think-
Mr. Woods.
I make a motion that we adjourn the regular meeting of the St. Charles Parish Housing Authority.
All right, thank you, Mr. Woods. Mr. Woods has moved to adjourn the meeting. Do we have a second? Commissioner Bailey has seconded. Please cast your votes. All right, that motion passes unanimously. Time is now 7:30. We are adjourned.